if he had some type of mental cognitive issue, that this test is sensitive enough, it would pick up on it. He would not have got 30 out of 30 on the test. So I'm very confident at this particular stage that he has nothing like that going on.
That's the White House physician, Dr. Ronnie Jackson, giving Donald Trump a clean bill of health. But not everyone agrees with the Rear Admiral's assessment, especially when it comes to the president's mental well-being. Trump's behavior has ranged from late-night Twitter rants boasting about the size of his nuclear button to incoherent speeches. Some psychiatrists say he could have anything from Alzheimer's to narcissistic personality disorder. But is Trump's mental health fragile enough to cost him the White House? Or are the accusations against the president orchestrated by his political enemies? The 25th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution allows for the commander-in-chief to be suspended if he's unable to discharge the powers or duties of the office. Some lawmakers are so concerned they've summoned Yale University's Dr. Bandy Lee to give them a briefing on Donald Trump. Well, let's speak to the doctor herself. Psychiatrist Bandy Lee joins us now from New York. Dr. Lee, do you agree with the assessment made by the White House physician?
Hello. First, thanks for having me. Let me make clear I'm speaking for myself and not my university. With regard to Dr. Jackson's assessment, he did a cognitive screen which showed a perfect score. But unfortunately, what we were recommending at this time was not a screen, but a full examination. A screen merely picks up signs that warrant additional testing, and we already have seen a number of signs that warrant testing without this screen. I think the perfect score rather outlines the limitations of the screen itself, that it was just a screen and not a full exam.
OK, I tell you what, we'll come on to that cognitive assessment, which was one part of that medical exam that the president went through. But before we get into any more details, Dr. Lee, how do you feel about making an assessment regarding a person that you've never met before? Because some people would say that that's unethical.
Well, I think this is exactly where mental health professionals do need to weigh in, because we can distinguish signs that are concerning and require further evaluation versus what are simply variations of the normal. And armchair psychiatry or psychiatry from a distance is exactly what we are trying to avoid by calling for a full evaluation, for thorough, full, in-person evaluation.
But you have you not made a psychiatric evaluation of Donald Trump and spoken to other media outlets by speaking to us here on The Newsmakers? And look, we very much appreciate your contribution because it's something that many, many people are talking about. But just by talking to us, you're breaking the rules of the American Psychiatric Association. You know full well the Goldwater rule, which says that you shouldn't be making these kind of assessments public if you haven't spoken to the person who you're publicly assessing, and that they should have given you permission first. Why is it so important for you to make these evaluations in a public forum?
It's not just myself. It is, there are thousands of us. There are 27 mental health experts who contributed to a book that I edited on this topic, but now there are thousands of us who have formed a national coalition about our concerns. Now, with respect to the Goldwater rule, which prohibits psychiatrists from diagnosing from afar, I'm a very strong proponent of it. And it is exactly because I am a strong proponent of the Goldwater rule that we are calling for an evaluation. And assessing dangerousness is not about diagnosing someone from afar. It is about assessing the situation. And this is an individual who has already shown signs of dangerousness. Now, some of the dangers are out there in hard data in terms of unprecedented spikes in hate crimes that have not abated, escalation of gun violence and gun deaths that are unprecedented, and also widespread schoolyard bullying that attribute their actions specifically to Mr. Trump. And so we have a wide range of data now to show that, that he does pose a danger by his occupying the office of the presidency.
Are you saying that when President Donald Trump makes statements, it creates a dangerous situation for citizens of the United States who are living in the U.S.?
Yes, it creates dangers for the nation and the world. These are public health threats that he poses, not an issue, not a personal issue about his personal mental health. And that is one of the reasons why we not only call for a full neuropsychiatric evaluation, which would be able to tell what is going on with him, but that actually, the results of that would be his personal affair. What is the affair of the public is whether or not he has the capacity to fulfill his role in his office. That is a capacity evaluation that we have been requesting, and that only deals with function, not a diagnosis or his personal mental health.
Don't you think there might be a distinction between mental capacity, mental health, and actually intellectual ability? Could it not just be that he's not necessarily the smartest president the United States has had, and that therefore he might have a problem grasping certain issues which are important to do his job, that it may have nothing to do with his mental state? It could just be that other thing, understanding, and a lack of it.
Exactly. A capacity evaluation, among other things, would be able to evaluate whether or not he's able to take in needed information and advice, whether he's able to process that information, and whether he's able to weigh different consequences before he makes sound, logical, reality-based decisions. And these are the kinds of things that capacity evaluation would test, and it has nothing to do with mental illness or diagnosis or even specifically cognitive or psychological or neurological capabilities. It looks at the whole and simply assesses function. In fact, our assessment of his risk for danger and his dangerousness that has manifested already, these have nothing to do with mental illness. Mentally ill individuals are no more violent than the general population. They are more likely to be victims than perpetrators, and therefore most dangerous individuals are not mentally ill. So we're not making a statement that he has a mental illness or that he has a certain diagnosis, but that he is a danger and needs to be evaluated.
Okay, I'm glad you pointed out that's a very important distinction to make. We've just got a small example of the Montreal Cognitive Assessment that Dr. Ronny Jackson gave to the president, apparently on the president's insistence. What do you make of this particular Montreal assessment? Because when we in the office were looking at it, we were thinking actually it was fairly straightforward. There are 3 drawings of animals there, and you have to name which one is a lion, which one is another sort of animal. They're very obvious things. You have to copy the shape of a cube. You have to remember some words. It didn't look particularly challenging at all.
Yes, as I said before, it's simply a screen. If there were reasons to believe that he needed a screen, and often those who are over the age of 65, screens are often routinely given, but as I've noted before, it's simply a screen that you normally give to individuals who have shown no other signs to indicate a full evaluation. So this would indicate signs, additional signs. It doesn't detect all the signs that are necessary for additional testing, and therefore it is a very quick 10-minute screen that is comparable to what is called a mini mental state exam. It's a little more involved and a little more specific to dementia, such as Alzheimer's dementia, but it's nothing more than that. It's simply a screen.
Dr. Bandy Lee, we appreciate you joining us on the Newsmakers. Thank you very much indeed.